Chapter 201. Little Prince, is this the kid? A tall young man beside Jie looked at Lu Ming with hostility. That's the kid. I'll recognize him even if he turns into ashes. Jie gritted his teeth. Hee, little prince, how do you want me to teach him a lesson? I'll teach him a lesson. Chen Xiong took a few steps forward and looked at Lu Ming mockingly. Do as you see fit. Break his arms and legs first. The rest is up to you. Jie said in a deep voice. All right, I'll beat him until his mother can't recognize him. Chen Xiong sneered as a powerful aura emanated from his body. Peak 4th level martial master. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. He was merely a peak 4th level martial master, and yet he dared to be so arrogant. Chen Xiong, this is the general hall. Don't mess around. Ming Zhu's face was solemn as he stepped forward. Io, isn't this beautiful Pearl? Why do you want to help him? But do you think you can stop me? Get out of my way. Don't ask for trouble. Chen Xiong scolded. Pearl's expression changed and turned ugly. What are you being so arrogant for? At most we'll fight. Ming Peak shouted when he saw Pearl being bullied. You're just a kid whose hair hasn't even grown out. You're just an ant. You want to fight? I'll cripple you right now. Chen Xiong sneered and closed in on Ming Peak. Lu Ming smiled faintly and took a step forward. His gaze was calm as a powerful aura rose from his body. 4th level martial master aura. So you're a 4th level martial master. No wonder you can defeat the 6 experts under the Little Prince. No wonder you're so arrogant. But do you think you can fight me just because we're both 4th level martial masters? I'll let you know how naive you are. Chen Xiong's gaze flickered as he said in disdain. Then you can try. Lu Ming said indifferently. Boom. Their auras clashed and a gust of wind swept up. What are you doing? No fighting is allowed at the entrance of the general hall. Get out. Suddenly, the old man in charge of registration at the entrance of the Star General Hall let out a furious roar. An extremely powerful aura burst out and enveloped the entire area. Lu Ming's expression changed. This old man was definitely a martial ancestor realm expert. Elder, this person has a grudge with me. I'll cripple him and leave immediately. Jie cupped his fists at the old man. Young prince, although you are of noble status, this is Star General Hall. Star General Hall has its own rules. Aside from His Majesty the Emperor, no one is allowed to break the rules of Star General Hall. You are no exception. The old man cupped his fists slightly, but he had no intention of backing down. You. Jie's expression was ugly, but there was nothing he could do. The elders of the Star General Hall were directly under the Emperor. Even if his father, the Heavenly King Suppression, was here, the elders of the Star General Hall might not give him face. Humph, brat, consider yourself lucky. However, your luck will only last for 3 days. Let's see how you'll die in 3 days. Jie stared coldly at Lu Ming. Let's go. Then, Jie waved his hand and strode into the Star General Hall. Chen Xiong glanced coldly at Lu Ming, sneered, and followed Jie. All right. Continue. The old man waved his hand and said. There were not many people in the hall to begin with. Soon it was Ming Peak's turn. After Ming Peak, it was Lu Ming's turn. Condense your bloodline and let me see. The old man glanced indifferently at Lu Ming. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Then there was a flash of blood-red light on his body. The spirit-devouring bloodline was condensed. At the same time, his 6 blood-red chakras shone brightly. Level 6 bloodline. The old man's eyes suddenly emitted an intense light, like 2 suns. On the side, Pearl, Ming Peak, and a few others looked at Lu Ming in shock. Level 6 bloodline. It was actually a level 6 bloodline. One should know that in the 5 major sects, those with a level 6 bloodline were top-notch geniuses and newcomers. At most, there would be 1 or 2 in a year. The old man's eyes flickered and he suddenly asked, which of the 5 major sects do you belong to? Lu Ming was taken aback. He smiled bitterly in his heart. It seemed that the old man was suspicious because his bloodline was too high. However, the appearance of his chakras was not under his control. Otherwise, he would have shown 3 chakras and it would not be too eye-catching. I don't belong to any of the 5 major sections. I'm just a rogue cultivator. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. He was not lying. He was indeed a rogue cultivator. Oh! The old man's eyes flickered. Obviously, he did not believe him. What's your name? The old man asked. Tinyun. Lu Ming replied. Then the old man took out a jade token and engraved a few inscriptions on it. He handed the jade token to Lu Ming and said, 3 days later, there will be a test at the martial arts field. Okay. Lu Ming took the jade token and nodded. Big brother Tianyun, where's your room? After Lu Ming registered, Ming Peek came up and asked. Lu Ming took the jade token and injected his true qi into it. Immediately some information appeared. Outer hall. Room 11,232. Lu Ming said. Haha, then we're together. I'm in room 11231 and my sister is not far from us. She's in room 11186. Ming Peek was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded but his heart skipped a beat. Martial artists must have their own rooms. There were more than 10,000 people in the Hall of General. There must be at least 10,000 people in the Hall of General. But it was normal when he thought about it. The Hall of General recruited a group of people every month. Even if it was not a lot each time, it would accumulate over the years. Lu Ming, you have to be careful in 3 days. At this moment, Pearl warned with a serious expression. Lu Ming's expression changed. That elder had told everyone who joined that there would be a test at the martial arts field 3 days later. Moreover, Wuxia had also said that Lu Ming's luck was good. It would only be 3 days. 3 days later, let's see how he'll die. He was very curious about this. What exactly is going on with the test 3 days later? Lu Ming asked. Mingzhu pondered for a moment and said, Brother Tian, you also know that when the Star General Hall recruits people, they don't ask about their background. They take in anyone. There are definitely all sorts of people in there. Of course the Hall of General won't do nothing. Thus, the students who have just joined the Hall of General will be tested 3 days later. The test is actually very simple. The old students will spar with the new students. On the surface it's a spar, but in reality it's to test the new students. If they are disciples of the 5 great sects, they will definitely not receive any training in the future. Pearl explained in detail. So that's how it is. Lu Ming nodded his head. If that's the case, Wuxia and the others were planning to tamper with the test in 3 days. Therefore, Brother Tian, you have to be careful in 3 days. Normally, the old students will be selected by the elders of the Hall of General. However, with Wuxia's influence, it won't be difficult for him to tamper with the test. Pearl continued. If they want to come, then let them come. Lu Ming smiled, not minding it at all. Brother Tian, don't be careless. Chun Xiong is a top genius. Although his cultivation is only at the peak of the 4th layer of the Martial Master Realm, he once killed a 5th layer Martial Master Realm expert with a single slash. He is incomparably powerful, and is not someone ordinary cultivators can compare to. Pearl continued. Genius? Isn't that more interesting? Lu Ming was still smiling faintly. Chapter 202. The Star General Hall was really huge. It was like a small world inside. Mountains, rivers, historical sites, and scenic spots were everywhere. Especially the halls and pavilions. They were densely packed and stacked on top of each other. The dormitories in the Star General Hall were filled with pavilions. They were all 7 floors high and had rooms. Lu Ming's room was on the 3rd floor. There was a metal plate hanging on the door with the number 11232. Ming Peek's room was right next to his. He took out his identity jade token and shone it at the metal plate. The metal plate glowed and the door opened automatically. Lu Ming walked in. The room was spacious and elegantly decorated. There was even a bookshelf at the side of the room. The bookshelf was filled with brand new books. The treatment in the Star General Hall is better than in the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Although the Imperial family has declined, they are still legitimate and have a strong foundation. Lu Ming thought to himself. Soon there was a knock on the door. When he opened it, it was Pearl and Ming Peek. Brother Tian, you just joined the Star General Hall. Let me show you around. Mingzhu smiled sweetly. Lu Ming nodded. He wanted to familiarize himself with the place. Lu Ming, Pearl, and Ming Peek walked around the Star General Hall. They chatted as they walked. During this time, Lu Ming found out that Pearl and Ming Peek were the sons and daughters of a general in the Blazing Sun Empire. Their father guarded the borders and fought wars all year round, As his sons and daughters, they naturally joined the Star General Hall and could become great generals in the future. The three of them chatted as they walked and slowly became closer. A few hours later, Lu Ming returned to his room and entered the Temple of Paragon. With a wave of his hand, a secret manual appeared in his hand. 3 Dao Palms was one of the 2 earth-rank martial techniques that Lu Ming had obtained from the Dongi tribe's ruins. He did not have the energy to cultivate it before, but now that he had cultivated the airborne steps to the highest level, he could finally cultivate the 3 Dao Palms. Lu Ming opened the 3 Dao Palms manual and carefully read it. After a long time, Lu Ming closed the secret manual, his face revealing a look of amazement. The 3 Palms was a completely offensive martial skill, and its power was beyond his imagination. 3 palms, in fact there were only 3 palms in total. The first palm was the human Dao Palm. The second palm was the beast Dao Palm. The third palm was the heavenly law palm. According to the introduction, the power of the first palm, the human Dao Palm, was already equivalent to the power of other earth-level martial skills. The power of the second palm had completely exceeded the power of a low-grade earth-rank martial skill. It was infinitely close to a high-grade earth-rank martial skill. As for the third palm, the Heaven's Path Palm, it was said that when cultivated to the highest level, its might would be infinitely close to a heaven-tier martial skill. It was infinitely close to a heaven-tier martial skill. Seeing this, Lu Ming's heart fiercely twitched. What kind of concept was a Tian-tier martial skill? It was much stronger than an earth-tier martial skill. It was incomparably terrifying. It was a martial skill that only kings were qualified to cultivate. The reason why the 3 Dao Palms was classified as a low-grade earth-tier martial skill was because very few people in history were able to successfully cultivate the third palm. It was too difficult. Having it was equivalent to not having it, so the 3 Dao Palms was classified as a low-grade earth-tier martial skill. Only by cultivating the first palm to the third level could one cultivate the second palm. And to cultivate the third palm, no one knew what conditions one had to meet. It all depended on one's luck. Lu Ming carefully comprehended it, then took out the 3 Dao Palms secret manual and carefully read it again. The difficulty of cultivating the 3 Dao Palms was even more difficult than the ancient shield technique. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. In 3 days there was no progress in the 3 Dao Palms. At this time it was time for the new students' test. Pearl and Ming Peak found Lu Ming early in the morning and walked with Lu Ming to the martial arts field. The martial arts field was very vast. It was said that it was the place where the emperor reviewed the troops. It was impossible to see the end of it. On one side of the martial arts field, there were more than 10 fighting stages. At this time there were already hundreds of people gathered around one of the fighting stages. More than 100 of them were new students who had just joined this time. The rest were old students. Some were here to watch the show and some were here to participate in the test. As soon as Lu Ming arrived, he saw a few cold eyes staring at him. It was Huajie, Chen Xiong and the others. Beside Huajie, there were more than 10 young men. They were here as expected. Lu Ming smiled faintly and could not be bothered with them. This kid is so calm now. Let's see how he'll die later. That's right. He's lucky to be alive today after offending the young prince. But it'll end here. The other young men beside Huajie sneered. Huajie's lips curled into a cold murderous intent. He said, Chen Xiong later, you just have to be ruthless and blame the Star Hall. I'll take responsibility. Don't worry, young prince. I know what to do. Chen Xiong sneered. After a while, the number of people gradually increased. In the end, there were about 500 people. At this time, a middle-aged elder went up to the fighting stage. The test this time is very simple. I will send out the old students to spar with the new students. The new students need not have any misgivings and can display your strength to your heart's content. If you are able to last 100 moves against the old students, the Star General Hall will give you a generous reward. If you are able to defeat the old students, the 7 great cultivation sacred grounds of the Star General Hall, with the exception of the Earth Yuan Cave, the other 6 sacred grounds will be able to cultivate for a year free of charge. The middle-aged elder announced. As soon as he said that, the eyes of many new students lit up. 7 sacred grounds? Lu Ming was a little confused. Obviously, he had never heard of it. Brother Tian, The 7 sacred grounds are unique to the Star General Hall. It's very mysterious. After the test, I'll explain it to you in detail. Pearl said softly. Alright, let's begin. The first one is Wu Yuan, the middle-aged elder announced. As soon as he said that, a skinny young man went up to the fighting stage. Dukin, go up and test him. The middle-aged elder instructed an old student. Yes, an old student in a red robe went up. Without saying anything, the battle began. The new student, Wu Yuan, launched a crazy attack. The saber in his hand turned into a rolling saber light as he attacked Dukan. However, Dukan had a smile on his face. He was calm and did not fight back. Instead, he kept dodging. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He could tell that Dukan's cultivation was definitely above the martial grandmaster realm. On the other hand, Wu Yuan was only a 6th grade martial master. The difference was too big. If Dukan really attacked, half a move would be enough to take Wu Yuan's life. However, Dukan did not attack. Lu Ming's heart suddenly skipped a beat. He raised his head and looked at the sky on his right. In the sky, on top of a cloud, a few old men were watching the fighting stage with bright eyes. There are indeed experts observing in the dark. It seems like the Star General Hall is not simple. Could it be that the rumors are true? That the Star General Hall is used by the royal family to nurture their own forces in an attempt to fight against the Shifang Sword faction? But it's so obvious. The Shifang Sword faction must know about it. Lu Ming pondered, full of doubts. At this moment, the few old men on the cloud were seriously watching the battle on the fighting stage. The saber light is rolling. This is the Lone Peak's 30 sabers. This Wu Yuan should be from Lone Peak City. There's no problem. An old man said. It's a pity that his cultivation is too weak and his talent is ordinary. Another old man sighed. There's nothing we can do. Most of the talented ones have been recruited by the 5 major sections. Let's just watch. Chapter 203. Soon 50 to 60 moves had passed on the fighting stage. Let's end this. Dukan shouted and punched out. Wu Yuan was directly blasted off the battle stage. Continue the second round, go Wei. The middle-aged elder announced again. The tests continued one after another. However, the strength of the new students was mixed. Some of them were only in the martial soldier realm, and could not last more than 100 moves against the old students. Of course, there were exceptions. There was a person whose cultivation had reached the 3rd layer of the martial grandmaster realm. He directly defeated an old student and attracted a lot of attention. Soon it was Ming Peak's turn. However, Ming Peak's cultivation was only in the 6th level martial master realm. It was not bad for his age, but it was impossible for him to be a match for the old student. The old student purposely went easy on Ming Peak for more than 50 moves and then defeated him. Next, Tunyun, the middle-aged elder announced. Lu Ming's expression changed and he stepped onto the fighting stage. Chun Xiong, come up and take the test. The middle-aged elder shouted. Chun Xiong, as expected. Lu Ming's eyes moved and he sneered. It's really Chun Xiong. Can't be so coincidental. He must have done something or this elder was bribed. Pearl whispered. Isn't this too hateful? Why don't we ask Brother Tunyun to give up the test? Ming Peak said. No, if he gives up the test, he can't stay in the Star General Hall. Pearl said. Then what should we do? Sister, is that Chun Xiong really that powerful? No matter what, Brother Tianyun is still in the 4th level martial master realm. Ming Peak said anxiously. Pearl sighed and said, of course Chun Xiong is strong. Ordinary 5th level martial masters were killed by him in one move. It is said that no less than 3 5th level martial masters have died in his hands. If he's that powerful, what should we do? Ming Peak was even more anxious. There's no other way. We can only rely on Tianyun's luck. Pearl sighed. Ha ha ha. On the other side, Chun Xiong laughed heartily and stepped onto the battle stage, standing in front of Lu Ming. Below the stage, Huajie sneered, brat. Your name is Tunyun, right? You've given me 3 more days to live. Now accept your fate. Huajie, you haven't fought for a few days. Are your bones itching again? Or do you want to pee in your pants again? Lu Ming glanced at Huajie and shouted. His voice spread far and wide. Huajie almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Lu Ming was really too abominable. He was simply poking at Huajie's sore spot. Huajie's face was flushed red. He glared at Lu Ming and roared, "Little bastard, go ahead and scream. This is your last chance. I'll let you have your fill. After all, you're about to die." Lu Ming responded with a sneer. He was too lazy to deal with Huajie, this mad dog. Clang! At this moment, Chen Xiong unsheathed his long sword. A bright, blood-red sword chi soared into the sky. "Tianyun, I once used this sword to kill an expert of the 5th level of the martial master realm. It is your honor to be able to die under my sword," Chen Xiong said loudly. His face was full of pride. "You killed a 5th-grade martial master expert with a single sword. You're shameless enough to brag about it. Don't you find it embarrassing?" Lu Ming curled his lips and said indifferently. As soon as these words came out, the surrounding crowd staggered and almost fell. They looked at Lu Ming speechlessly. Embarrassing? As a 4th-level martial master, he had killed a 5th-level martial master expert with one sword. In Lu Ming's eyes, this was a broken record and embarrassing? This was a battle that surpassed one's level. Moreover, it was in the martial master realm. To be able to kill an opponent in the martial master realm, one must be a top genius. Bragging, he must be bragging. Almost everyone thought that Lu Ming was bragging. Even Pearl and Ming Peek looked at each other. Bragging. Since you're about to die, I'll let you brag to your heart's content." Huajie laughed loudly. However, Chen Xiong's face was extremely ugly. The battle that he had always been proud of was actually so unbearable in Lu Ming's eyes. Whether or not Chen Xiong was bragging in his eyes, it was an insult to him. "Tianyun, wait a moment. I hope you can still say it." Chen Xiong's voice was extremely cold. He pointed his long sword and a surging sword chi rushed towards Lu Ming. "Kill!" Chen Xiong shouted. His killing intent soared to the heavens. Man and sword became one, turning into a blood-red sword chi and slashing towards Lu Ming. The sword chi whistled, as if it could cut the space in half. Its power was extremely shocking. How was this a test or a spar? This was blatantly trying to kill Lu Ming. Oh no! Pearl and Ming Peek's faces changed dramatically. As for Huajie, he sneered and thought, "Boy, it's really too easy for you to die like this." In the fighting ring, Lu Ming's face was calm. Looking at the incoming sword chi, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He did not take out a weapon. Instead, he waved his hand and a red spear appeared in his hand. Chasing thunder. Whoosh! The red spear chi flashed by. Fast, too fast, unbelievably fast. Most people did not even see it clearly. Only a few old men in the clouds were shocked. Bang! In the fighting ring, 2 rays of light collided. However, Chen Xiong's sword chi was like a layer of bubbles that burst upon contact. Then the spear chi continued to flash and disappeared. The spear quickly disappeared. In the fighting ring, 2 figures stood facing each other. Who won? Everyone stared with their eyes wide open. Puff! Suddenly, a stream of blood spurted out from Chen Xiong's throat. Chen Xiong screamed and covered his throat with his hands. His eyes were as wide as a dead fish's as he stared at Lu Ming in disbelief. "I've said it before. It's really embarrassing to talk about your lousy battle record," Lu Ming said indifferently. Chen Xiong's eyes were filled with fear and unwillingness. Then he fell to the ground and stopped breathing. The surrounding students of the Star General Hall were all dumbfounded as they watched on. One move to kill a top genius Chen Xiong. Moreover, Lu Ming did not even use a weapon. He merely condensed a long spear with his true chi and killed Chen Xiong with a casual move. What kind of strength is this? Isn't he too strong? Chen Xiong did not even have the strength to fight back in front of him. Genius, a peerless genius. Many people shouted in their hearts. So strong, this young man is not simple. In the clouds, an old man said, "Could he be a genius from the 5 major sects? It's hard to say. I really hope he is not a disciple of the 5 major sections. Investigate thoroughly. If he is not from the 5 major sects, we must try our best to rope him in." A few old men looked at Lu Ming with bright eyes. Below the fighting ring, Huajie stared at the scene with his mouth agape. After a while, he came to his senses and roared furiously, "Tianyun, how dare you kill Chen Xiong? How dare you kill him? You will pay with your life. Pay with my life. Ridiculous, Chen Xiong was the one who said he wanted to kill me. Now that I killed him, he deserved it. Moreover, the elders did not say that killing is forbidden. Chapter 204. On the battle platform, the middle-aged elder's expression darkened, but he didn't say anything. He was indeed bribed by Wuxia, but he knew that there were a few big shots watching from the clouds. He didn't dare to go overboard. Wuxia was stunned. He couldn't refute Lu Ming's words. How about this, Wuxia? I'll give you a chance. All of you can come at me together. Lu Ming said indifferently. What? There was an uproar. Lu Ming actually wanted all of Wuxia's people to come at him together? This was too arrogant. One must know that all of Wuxia's people were geniuses. They were the children of many big shots in the imperial capital. Their combat strength was very strong. Some of them were even stronger than Chen Xiong. No matter how strong Lu Ming was, how could he be a match for so many experts? Crazy. Crazy. What? You want to challenge so many of us? Even Wuxia was stunned for a moment before he reacted. He was overjoyed and hurriedly shouted, "All right, this is what you said. Don't go back on your words." At the same time, he was laughing in his heart. He was laughing at Lu Ming for courting death. On the battle platform, the middle-aged elder was a little stunned. This was the first time he had seen such a scene during a test. For a moment he didn't know whether to agree or not. At this moment, a voice transmission was transmitted to his ears, asking him to agree. It was from an elder above the clouds. They also wanted to take this opportunity to observe Lu Ming. "All right, this battle can be carried out," the middle-aged elder announced. "Go." Wuxia hurriedly waved his hand. Over 10 young men beside him rushed up the battle platform. "Brat, do you think you can be so arrogant after defeating Chen Xiong? How naive. You actually challenged so many of us at once. You're simply courting death. If I don't beat him up, my surname isn't Wang." These young men stared at Lu Ming with hostility and sneered. Lu Ming actually challenged so many of them at once. It was obvious that he was looking down on them. This was an insult. They wanted to make Lu Ming regret it. "Cut the crap. If you want to fight, do it quickly. If not, scram." Lu Ming berated. "Damn it, you're courting death. Kill him." Over 10 young men let out angry roars and emitted powerful auras. Boom! 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 Blood-red light flashed as the bloodlines of more than a dozen youths burst out at the same time. The terrifying attack was like a never-ending wave that surged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming was instantly drowned out by the multicolored brilliance. Everyone stared with wide eyes. Lu Ming was so arrogant. They wanted to see how Lu Ming would fight with more than 10 young geniuses. At this moment, Lu Ming made his move. Just like before, Zhang Xian didn't even need to use a weapon. Instead, a spear materialized in his hand. Whoosh! The long spear swept out in a very direct and violent manner. A full moon appeared on the battle platform. Bang! Bang! A loud explosion could be heard as the attacks launched by the young men were shattered instantly. A terrifying spear glow swept across the surroundings. More than a dozen screams rang out as more than a dozen figures were sent flying off the stage, coughing up large mouthfuls of blood. The air seemed to have frozen at this moment. Everyone stared blankly at the scene. One move, just one move, and all the young geniuses brought by Wuxia were defeated. It was so easy as if he was swatting a dozen flies. What a waste of time. Lu Ming curled his lips and said. Everyone was speechless and roared in their hearts. What do you mean by a waste of time? You're too abnormal. Even if you want to defeat someone, you shouldn't do it like that. Wuxia's body trembled. His face was pale and his lips were trembling. He pointed at Lu Ming and said, "You." He stuttered for a long time but couldn't say a word. Strong, too strong. Brother Tianyun is too strong. Ming Peak kept muttering, his face full of excitement. By the side, Ming Zhu's beautiful eyes flashed with splendor. Lu Ming's strength was completely beyond her expectations. Phew! Phew! Above the clouds, several old men let out a long sigh, their eyes flickering with uncertainty. How is it? Can you tell where they came from? One of the old men asked. I can't tell. It was just one move, and most of them were defeated with absolute strength. Very little information was exposed. What's more, he probably used his own personal martial arts technique. There's no trace of the 5 biggest sections. Another old man said, "This is difficult. Is such a peerless genius from the 5 great sects or not? Pay attention. We must pay attention to him. If he's from the 5 biggest sects, he just wants to cultivate in the sacred ground and won't stay for long. If he's not, we must rope him in." The old men discussed quickly. "Elder, is my test over?" Lu Ming asked the middle-aged man. "Yet, it's over." The middle-aged man stammered. Lu Ming nodded and jumped down from the fighting ring. Hua Jie glared at Lu Ming with resentment. He left with more than 10 young men who were staggering. They were in a sorry state. Hua Jie came with a high profile and left with a face full of dust. He would become a laughingstock once again. Lu Ming smiled faintly. As long as the older generation did not appear, he did not care about a foppish young master like Hua Jie. Then the tests continued. However, no one who stood out appeared. Soon all the tests were over. The middle-aged man marked each new student's identity jade token. "Haha, I can finally cultivate in the 7 sacred grounds." Ming Peak laughed. "Ming Peak, are the 7 sacred grounds really that good?" Lu Ming asked curiously. "Good, of course it's good. Brother Tianyun, do you know why the 5 biggest sects disciples sneaked in? They want to cultivate in the 7 sacred grounds of the Hall of General." Ming Peak said with glowing eyes. "Brother Tian, the 7 sacred grounds of the Hall of General are the most important places for the imperial family. It is said that the omnidirectional sword sect covets it, but the imperial family has a tight grip on it. It can be said that the 7 sacred grounds are the foundation of the imperial family, and they will not give it to others." Pearl explained. "Yes, Brother Tianyun, you defeated the older students this time. Apart from the Earth Essence Cave, you can choose any of the other 6 sacred grounds and cultivate for free for a year. I'm so envious." Ming Peak exclaimed. "I wonder what the 7 great cultivation sanctuaries are?" Lu Ming asked. "Let me tell you." Ming Feng immediately rushed to say, "The 7 great cultivation holy grounds are respectively the Earth Essence Cave, Gongjin Valley, Divine Wind Valley, Unending Tower, 10,000 Kills Secret Realm, Fog Swamp and Lightning Light Hall. Among them, the most mysterious one is the Earth Essence Cave. The Earth Essence Cave contains rich fire spiritual qi that can condense true qi. In the Earth Essence Cave, whether it is to raise one's cultivation or to cultivate fire attribute martial skills, it will be twice the result with half the effort. The Gongjin Valley contains rich Gongjin qi and is the best place to cultivate metal attribute martial skills and martial skills. The Divine Wind Valley is filled with gales and hurricanes, and is the best place to cultivate wind attribute martial skills. Chapter 205. It's so magical. There was a glint in Lu Ming's eyes. He was very interested. Mystic Essence Sword Sect did not have many places like this. Lu Ming only knew of the Phoenix Perch Cave in the Vermilion Bird Courtyard. The royal family that ruled the Blazing Sun Empire had a strong foundation. Brother Tianyun, which one do you want to go to first? Ming Peak asked. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said, "The Earth Essence Cave. Sure, I want to go too. Let's go together." Ming Peak was overjoyed. Lu Ming nodded. "The 2 of you can go to the Earth Essence Cave. I'm going to the Fog Swamp to cultivate a martial technique. I won't be going with you." Pearl smiled. "Sister, hurry up and go," Ming Peak urged. "You brat, you've just arrived at the Star General Hall. Don't cause trouble." Pearl glared at Ming Peak and left. "Brother Tianyun, let's go to the Earth Essence Cave together," Ming Peak shouted excitedly. They could find the way to the Earth Essence Cave just by asking any senior student. The 2 of them passed through many halls and arrived at a mountain peak. There was a huge stone wall at the foot of the mountain. There was a stone door on the wall and 2 middle-aged men were guarding the door. The 2 middle-aged men were just casually standing there, but their bodies were emitting waves of ocean-like aura unfathomable. What a strong cultivation. They're definitely martial ancestor realm experts. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Everyone said that the royal family had declined. However, it seemed that their strength was not to be underestimated. A martial ancestor realm expert in the Mystic Essence Sword Sect would be a silver-robed elder. Senior, we're going to the Earth Essence Cave to cultivate. Ming Peek walked to one of the men and bowed respectfully. Identity Jade Token. Let me take a look. The man said expressionlessly. Lu Ming and Ming Peek took out their identity jade cards and handed them over to the big man. The big man took a look at it and nodded. You can go in. First, exchange for the inscription stones. Only with the inscription stones can you open the secret training room in the Earth Essence Cave. All right, thank you, Senior. Ming Peek nodded and took out the spiritual crystals. Lu Ming also took out spirit crystals. On the way here, Ming Peek had already explained the situation of the Duan Cave to Lu Ming in detail. From top to bottom, the imperial family had dug out 13 layers of the earthen cave. On every floor, there were cultivation chambers that were filled with fire-attributed spiritual energy. Regardless of whether it was to raise one's cultivation, refine one's zhenqi, or cultivate fire-attributed martial techniques, they were all extremely useful. The further down he went, the denser the spiritual qi was and the better the effects. However, it was impossible for them to let people cultivate there for free. Inscriptions were carved into every secret room. Only the imperial family's inscription stones could open the secret rooms and allow people to cultivate there. The inscription stone cost 30 spiritual crystals. Of course, the further down he went, the more inscription stones he would need. How many inscription stones do you want? The middle-aged man asked Ming Peek. One piece is enough. Ming Peek said. On the first floor of the Earth Essence Cave, one inscription stone was enough to open a secret training room and cultivate there for a month. Ming Peek took out 30 spiritual crystals and handed them to the middle-aged man. Then the middle-aged man handed Ming Peek a fiery red stone that was engraved with inscriptions. How about you? How many inscription stones do you want? The middle-aged man asked. Let's exchange for 100 first. Lu Ming said casually. Ah, what? 100. The two middle-aged men were shocked. Ming Peek also widened his eyes. 100 inscription stones would cost 3,000 spiritual crystals, which was equivalent to 30 million taels of silver. Lu Ming was so young. How could he have so many spiritual crystals? Lu Ming smiled. His fingers glowed and a jade box appeared. Rows of spiritual crystals were neatly stacked in it. Lu Ming took out 3,000 spiritual crystals and handed them to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took them and then took out 100 inscription stones and handed them to Lu Ming. Go in and cultivate. The two middle-aged men finally smiled. The stone door opened and Lu Ming and Ming Peek walked in. As soon as they entered, they could feel the rich spiritual qi of the fire attribute. After walking for about 100 meters, a huge underground cave appeared. The surroundings were neat and tidy. It was obvious that it was man-made. There were secret training rooms around the cave. The doors of the secret rooms were closed. Some of the doors were shining faintly, which meant that someone was cultivating inside. Those that were not shining on the doors meant that no one was cultivating inside. In the middle was a cave entrance. As they walked in, they saw a spiral staircase below the cave entrance. This was the first floor. If they went further down, they would reach the second floor. Brother Tianyun, which floor are you going to cultivate on? I'll cultivate here, Ming Feng said, his voice faintly revealing a look of envy. The spiritual qi of heaven and earth here is not very rich. Let's go down, Lu Ming said. Go down? But my inscription stones. Don't I have them here? I haven't thanked you for telling me so much. Let's go down together. I'll treat you. Lu Ming smiled. Treat me? Really? Then I won't stand on ceremony. Ming Peek was overjoyed and did not stand on ceremony at all. Ming Feng's youthful temperament was genuine, and he did not beat around the bush. He took the lead and went to the second floor. The space of the second floor was not smaller than the first floor. The layout was almost the same as the first floor. However, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth was richer. Lu Ming could almost feel the blazing spiritual qi of heaven and earth wrapping around his body, as if it was going to drill into his body. The Earth Essence Cave is indeed worthy of its reputation. This is the outside of the secret room. If I cultivate in the secret room, my cultivation will probably improve 10 times faster than outside. Moreover, it will definitely be very useful to cultivate fire-based martial arts. Even the comprehension of fire force will be very useful. I made the right choice to come today. Moreover, this is only the second floor, and the spiritual chi of heaven and earth essence is so rich. It is said that there are 13 floors in the earth essence cave. I wonder what it will be like if I go all the way down? Lu Ming thought to himself. Brother Tianyun, in this floor, you will need 3 inscription stones to cultivate in a secret room for a month. Ming Peek said. Let's continue. Lu Ming smiled and went to the 3rd floor. Ming Peek hurried to follow. On the 3rd floor, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was even richer. On this floor, Lu Ming's eyes moved because he saw 5 or 6 young men sitting cross-legged in the middle of the floor. Although the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was rich in the open space outside, it could not be compared to the secret room. What were these people doing sitting outside? Ming Peek seemed to have thought of something and his face changed. He whispered to Lu Ming, I heard from my sister that in the Earth Essence Cave, some people don't have spiritual crystals to exchange for inscription stones, so they specialize in robbing other people's secret rooms. When someone opens a secret room, they will rob it. Oh, Lu Ming nodded. Chapter 206. Then he scanned the room. There were more than 20 secret rooms around him. More than 10 of them were lit up. It was obvious that someone was cultivating in them. 6 of them were dimmed. Lu Ming looked around and walked towards a secret room. The 6 young men sitting in the middle saw Lu Ming walking towards a secret room and their eyes lit up. I've never seen this kid before. He's probably a hothead. Could it be that he just arrived? Haha, I've waited for a few days. Finally, someone is here to open the secret room. I'm going to snatch it. The 6 young men all thought in their hearts. Big brother Tianyun. Ming Peek was a little nervous as he followed behind Lu Ming. After all, those who dared to snatch someone else's secret room were definitely ruthless people. Lu Ming didn't care and took out 9 inscription stones. The secret room on the 3rd floor required 9 inscription stones to open. There were a few pits on the stone door. Lu Ming placed the 9 inscription stones into the pit. The stone door instantly shone. Then there was a creaking sound and the stone door opened. Haha, this secret room is mine. In your dreams. I'm the first one here. I've been here for 7 days. This secret room is mine. You're the first one here? In your dreams. The secret room belongs to the strong. Get out of here immediately. When the door of the secret room opened, the 6 young men all stood up and shouted. They all wanted to take the secret room for themselves. As for Lu Ming's thoughts, they directly ignored them. Who would care about someone who looked like he had just arrived? Clang! Clang! The sound of weapons being unsheathed rang out. The 6 of them actually drew their weapons and confronted each other. You want to fight with me? You're courting death. Boom! At this moment, the aura of one of the pockmarked young men burst out. Judging from his aura, he had actually reached the 4th level martial master realm. The other 5 young men's faces instantly changed. Pockmarked Lu, you actually broke through to the 4th level martial master realm? When did this happen? One of the young men shouted in shock. Haha, you didn't expect it, did you? I've already broken through. Let's see how you're going to compete with me. Now get the hell out of here. I need this chamber to consolidate my cultivation base. Lu Motzi shouted coldly, and his powerful aura surged violently in the cave. The other 5 had ugly expressions on their faces, but they didn't dare to refute. Most of them were in the 2nd or 3rd layer of the martial grandmaster realm. They were not a match for the 4th layer of the martial grandmaster realm. Damn it, I've waited for 7 days and finally found a hothead. Looks like I've waited for nothing. A tall young man shouted in a low voice, extremely displeased. He helplessly retreated and stood to the side. The others fell silent for a moment before retreating one after another. Ha ha ha. Pockmarked Lu laughed loudly, looking majestic and proud. Then he turned to Lu Ming and said, Boy, I want your secret room. Also, if you have any inscription stones, hand them all over and get lost. I'm in a good mood today, so I won't make things difficult for you. 4th layer martial grandmaster? When Pockmarked Lu revealed his cultivation base, Ming Peek didn't feel nervous anymore. He muttered and looked at Pockmarked Lu with a strange expression. Lu Ming had easily defeated a group of geniuses in the 3rd or 4th layer of the martial grandmaster realm with one move. Pockmarked Lu was nothing to him. Ming Peek had already started to mourn for pockmarked Lu in his heart. How pitiful! Looking at pockmarked Lu's arrogant expression, Ming Peek muttered in his heart, "Are you sure you want to do this? Don't you want to think about it?" Lu Ming looked at pockmarked Lu and said with a smile that wasn't a smile, "Nonsense, what's there to think about? Stop talking nonsense and wasting my time." Pockmarked Lu shouted, "Since that's the case, fine. Hand over your storage ring and scram." Lu Ming said indifferently, "Ah, what? What did you say?" Pockmarked Lu was stunned, thinking that he had misheard. "Hurry up, I don't want to repeat myself," Lu Ming said. "Ha ha ha, kid, you still want my storage ring? I think you're crazy. Let me cure you." Pockmarked Lu burst out laughing. He took a step forward and threw a punch at Lu Ming. Bang! Following that, the others heard a loud explosion. Then they saw a figure flying backward and landing heavily on the ground, screaming in agony. It was Pockmarked Lu. The other 5 young men were stunned. Pockmarked Lu was defeated. Most importantly, he was defeated too quickly. They didn't even see how he was defeated. Whoosh! Lu Ming moved like a ghost and appeared in front of Pockmarked Lu. He stepped on Pockmarked Lu's face, causing it to fall heavily to the ground. Pockmarked Lu screamed in agony. The other 5 young men felt a chill down their spines and a toothache. An expert, so this is a peerless expert. Luckily, I didn't make a move just now. It's all Pockmarked Lu's fault. If it weren't for him, I would be the one suffering. I have to thank Pockmarked Lu. The other 5 young men were secretly relieved. Their palms were sweating. Now hand over your storage ring. Lu Ming looked down at Pockmarked Lu and said indifferently, "Yes, I'll hand it over." Pockmarked Lu screamed and handed the storage ring to Lu Ming with trembling hands. He wanted to die. He thought that he had gotten a good deal, but in the end, he suffered a double loss. "I'll never fight for the secret room again. You're such a scammer." Pockmarked Lu screamed in his heart. Lu Ming took the storage ring and moved his foot away. "Get lost." "Yes, yes." Lu Motzi scrambled to his feet, trying to get up and leave. Click. At that moment, the door of a secret room opened. Whoosh! With a flash, a silhouette emerged from within. It was a man in his 20s. He wore a black robe and had a cold expression. As soon as he came out, his eyes scanned the surroundings. "Bai Long, it's Bai Long." The other young men's faces changed when they saw the black-robed young man. "Who has an inscription stone? Hand it over quickly. My time in the secret room is up. I need to continue cultivating and break through a martial skill." Bai Long yelled. His eyes were like lightning, and he did not hide his powerful aura. 5th layer martial master. This young man is actually a 5th layer martial master. Suddenly, Bai Long's gaze landed on the secret room behind Lu Ming. Haha! The secret room that just opened is perfect for me. After saying this, he strode toward the secret room. Lu Ming moved slightly and blocked in front of Bai Long. "This secret room is mine." Bai Long was startled. He looked at Lu Ming and said with a cold smile, "Yours? Give it to me now." Although he said give, his tone was overbearing and domineering. It was a direct command. "I'm sorry, I won't give it to you," Lu Ming said calmly. "Won't give it to you? Kid, it seems like you don't know who I am. I'll say it again. I'm going to cultivate my martial skill in the secret room. If I'm delayed by you and my martial skill fails to break through, can you bear the responsibility?" Bai Long said coldly, "If you need a secret room, open it yourself. Don't talk nonsense here. It's none of my business if you need a martial skill. Get lost, I still need to cultivate." Chapter 207. Bai Long's face instantly darkened. Haha, although this kid has some strength, he's really a hothead. He dares to talk to Bai Long like that. He's finished. Lu Motzi was about to leave, but he stopped at this moment. Seeing Lu Ming talking to Bai Long like that, he laughed in his heart, taking pleasure in Lu Ming's misfortune. It would be a lie to say that he did not resent Lu Ming for what he had done to him. However, he was not as strong as Lu Ming, so he could only swallow his pride. Now that he saw that Lu Ming had provoked Bai Long, he was naturally overjoyed. He hoped that Bai Long would teach Lu Ming a lesson. The others were similar, taking pleasure in Lu Ming's misfortune. Kid, what did you say? Bai Long's face was cold as he asked in a deep voice. Are you deaf? I told you to get lost. Lu Ming repeated. Ha ha ha. Bai Long laughed out of anger. A cold killing intent erupted from his body as he looked at Lu Ming ferociously. Kid, in this outer hall, no one has dared to talk to me like that for a long time. You're the first. It seems that I haven't made a move for a long time, and some ants are about to overturn the sky. Today, I'll teach you an unforgettable lesson. After saying that, he took a few steps forward and appeared in front of Lu Ming in an instant. Boom! Bai Long punched out, and a terrifying whistling sound immediately rang out. This punch was extremely shocking. The fist force rolled out, and even a mountain would be shattered. Bai Long's lips curled into a ferocious smile. He wanted to break all the bones in Lu Ming's body with this punch. In the world of martial artists, strength spoke louder than words. It was normal to draw a sword and kill if there was a disagreement. I didn't want to make a move today, but there's a group of people who are courting death. Lu Ming whispered and waved his palm at Bai Long. The moment he waved his hand, a long spear condensed. Whoosh! The tip of the spear pierced through everything. Bai Long's terrifying fist energy was pierced through like tofu. Ah! Bai Long screamed and retreated rapidly. Lu Mozi and the others were shocked. They hurriedly looked at Bai Long and sucked in a breath of cold air. There was a hole in Bai Long's fist. White bones could be seen and blood flowed out. The hole went straight through his arm, as if it had been blasted open. It was extremely terrifying. Bai Long was trembling all over. His face was pale and cold sweat was dripping down his forehead. He let out a low growl. With this little ability of yours, you're still acting like you're about to explode. I'm really speechless. Now get out of here. Lu Ming coldly shouted. Brat, you win, but today's matter isn't over. Just you wait. Bai Long roared angrily and then fled in a sorry state. Why are you still here? Do you want to be like Bai Long? Lu Ming looked at Lu Mozi and the others with a half-smile. Lu Mozi and the others' expressions changed drastically. They were almost scared out of their wits. Lu Ming was too powerful. He crippled Bai Long's arm in one move. How could they afford to offend such a ruthless person? Let's go. I'll leave right away. Lu Mozi shouted and quickly walked up the stone stairs. The others followed closely behind. When they reached the second floor, Lu Mozi stopped. Lu Mozi, what's wrong? Haven't you been taught a lesson yet? Do you want to stay and be tortured? One of the young men sneered and gloated. Shut up. Lu Mozi shouted coldly. His face was extremely gloomy. Although that brat is strong, he's brainless. He even dared to hurt Bai Long. Now that Bai Long is injured, he'll definitely go back and ask his elder brother, Bai Qi. Once Bai Qi comes, that brat will be dead. Of course I'll stay and watch the show. As soon as these words came out, the other young men's expressions changed. That's right. Bai Qi is one of the top 10 outer hall experts. With him here, that brat is doomed. I'll stay and watch the show too. The young men spoke one after another. Then they sat down cross-legged on the second floor and waited for Bai Qi's arrival. The third floor. Brother Tianyun, you're so powerful. When can I be as powerful as you? No, I'll be happy if I can be half as powerful as you. Ming Peak looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Now Lu Ming was his idol. As long as you work hard, you'll soon catch up with me. Lu Ming smiled and walked into the secret chamber. He sensed it carefully and then shook his head. Although the fire attribute spiritual qi in the secret chamber was rich, it did not meet Lu Ming's requirements. He needed to continue down. Ming Peak, this secret chamber is for you to cultivate. Lu Ming said. For me? Brother Tianyun, what about you? Ming Peak asked. I want to continue down. This place isn't very useful for me. Lu Ming said. Alright, then I won't stand on ceremony. Ming Peak's eyes lit up with excitement and walked into the secret chamber. Brother Tianyun, I'll close the door and cultivate. Ming Peak shouted. Seeing Lu Ming nod, he pressed a button and the stone door of the secret chamber closed. On the other hand, Lu Ming continued to head down. Soon he arrived at the fourth floor. 27 inscription stones were required to open a secret chamber on the fourth floor. In the middle of the fourth floor, there were two people sitting cross-legged. When Lu Ming came down, The two of them looked at Lu Ming maliciously. Obviously, they wanted to snatch the secret chamber for themselves. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not take it to heart. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and shook his head. Then he continued to walk down to the 5th floor. The two young men's faces changed as they watched Lu Ming walk down to the 5th floor. Their eyes flickered, but they did not follow him in the end. Those who could cultivate on the 5th floor were not weak. Many of them were even disciples of the Star General Hall, experts above the 7th level of the Martial Master realm. Lu Ming walked down the stairs. When he approached the 5th floor, the power of inscription acted on his body, preventing him from continuing. Lu Ming's body shook and the power was defeated. It seems that without a certain cultivation, you can't cultivate here. Lu Ming smiled. When he stepped foot on the 5th level, Lu Ming felt waves of scorching and violent fire attribute spirit energy surging from all around him, causing his skin to feel a little numb and itchy. No wonder there was an inscription. The fire attribute spiritual chi here is too hot and violent. If an ordinary person is hit by this spiritual chi, they will die. If a weaker martial artist cultivates here for a long time, their meridians will be burned. However, this spiritual chi is suitable for me. Lu Ming thought to himself. There were more than a dozen secret chambers around the 5th floor. About half of them were occupied. There was not a single person in the open space. Here no one had snatched the secret chamber. Lu Ming walked to a secret chamber and took out 81 inscription stones. That's right. On the 5th floor, one needed 81 inscription stones to open a secret chamber and cultivate for a month. He inlaid the inscription stones on the stone door. The light opened and Lu Ming walked in. After walking in, he closed the stone door. When the stone door closed, the walls of the secret chamber flowed with inscriptions. The inscriptions glowed and the fire attribute spiritual chi in the secret chamber became denser. The inscription array in the secret chamber helped to absorb and gather the spiritual chi between heaven and earth. The fire attribute spiritual chi here seems to come from the depths of the ground. Chapter 208. There were a total of 13 levels in the earth element cave. The further down one went, the denser the fire element spiritual chi. It was said that the further down one went, the fire element spiritual chi was not the only thing. There were other things of a deeper level. The 13 levels were not natural. The Burning Sun imperial family had spent a lot of manpower to excavate them. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could only excavate the 13th level. It was impossible for him to continue down. It was said that the last two levels were excavated by a peerless martial king of the Burning Sun imperial family in ancient times. Others could not even go down. Lu Ming heard all this from Ming Peak. What was below the 13th level? Countless people in the Burning Sun Empire were wondering, but no one knew the answer. Lu Ming shook his head and stopped thinking about it. He sat down cross-legged and started to cultivate using the true dragon fighting technique. The fire element spiritual chi around him was absorbed into Lu Ming's body. The scorching fire element spiritual chi was constantly converted into genuine chi. The scorching aura could also refine genuine chi and make it more condensed. Lu Ming realized that the speed of cultivation here was more than 20 times faster than outside. One day of cultivation here was equivalent to more than 20 days outside. Although the cost was huge, 80 inscription stones were equivalent to more than 2,400 spiritual crystals, the effect was worth it. Especially for martial artists who needed to break through their bottlenecks. They would have a higher chance of breaking through their bottlenecks here. Lu Ming's bloodline was now at level 6. However, the speed of absorbing spiritual chi was as fast as a level 9 bloodline. It was terrifyingly fast. The spirit-devouring bloodline was activated. Lu Ming's body was like a whirlpool, constantly devouring the surrounding spirit energy of heaven and earth. Whoosh whoosh, Lu Ming circulated his true chi. The true chi in his meridians transformed into many small dragons that seemed to be material, swimming in his meridians. The vortex in his dantian spun continuously like a nebula. Just like that, Lu Ming was immersed in his cultivation. A few hours later, at the second level of the earth element cave. They're here. Suddenly, Lu Mozi's eyes lit up and he shouted. The others looked at the entrance. Two figures walked in. One of them was Bai Long. At this time, One of Bai Long's hands was wrapped in a thick bandage. Beside Bai Long, there was a young man with a cold expression who looked 50 to 60% similar to Bai Long. Bai Qi really came? Lu Matzi and the others looked at the young man with deep respect. Bai Qi was one of the top 10 experts of the Outer Palace. His cultivation had reached the peak of the 6th level of the martial master realm. However, his battle prowess was extremely terrifying. It was easy for him to kill 7th-layer martial grandmasters. Many inner hall students were not his match. He was a peerless genius. They couldn't compare to him at all. Bai Qi glanced at Lu Matzi and the others indifferently before heading to the 3rd floor. Let's go and take a look. Gritting his teeth, Lu Matzi followed him down to the 3rd level, followed by the others. When Bai Qi and the others arrived at the 3rd floor, they saw that there was no one there. Speak, where is that little bastard? Bai Long's eyes were extremely cold as he stared at Lu Matzi and the others. We don't know. We were also chased away by that kid. Lu Matzi's face changed greatly. It seems that he has already entered the secret room to cultivate. Second brother, do you still remember which secret room it was? Bai Qi said. His voice was calm, but there was a hidden murderous intent, causing Lu Matzi and the others to shiver involuntarily. That room, that's right. Bai Long pointed at the room that Lu Ming had opened previously, which was also the room that Ming Peak was cultivating in. Alright, does that kid think that hiding in the secret room is useful? Even if he is hiding in there, I will still blast him out. Bai Qi sneered. Boom! Then, he attacked and slammed his palm on the stone door of the secret room. A violent tremor sounded. In the secret room Ming Peak was cultivating. Suddenly, an earth-shattering boom sounded. His body shook violently and he spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. Who is attacking the stone door? Damn it! Ming Peak roared. Boom! Outside, Bai Qi slammed his palm again, causing the stone door to tremble. Lu Matzi and the others were shocked. Bai Qi was really audacious. There was a rule in the Star General Hall that no one could attack the door of the secret room because it would easily cause the person inside to go berserk. But now Bai Qi completely ignored this rule. This was the confidence that came with being strong. In the secret room Ming Peak gritted his teeth. But the sound of the bombardment continued as if it was endless. An hour later, Ming Peak could no longer endure it. I want to see who it is. I will report him to the elders. Ming Peak roared, opened the stone door and walked out. Bai Long, it's you again. As soon as the stone door was opened, Ming Peak saw Bai Long finally out. Why is it you? Where is that kid? Which secret room is he in? Bai Long stared at Ming Peak and said coldly. Why should I tell you? Also, you attacked the stone door and violated the rules of the Star General Hall. I will report you, Ming Peak shouted. But before he could finish his words, he felt a strong gust of wind attack him. The speed of this gust of wind was far beyond his imagination. There was no way he could dodge it. Slap! Ming Peak's face was heavily slapped. Ming Peak's body flew out. So much nonsense. Speak, which secret room is that kid in? Bai Qi retracted his palm and asked coldly. I don't know. Ming Peak struggled to get up and shouted. You don't know? You still dare to be stubborn? Bai Qi's eyes revealed a cold murderous intent. With a flash, he appeared beside Ming Peak and stepped on Ming Peak's face, causing Ming Peak's face to collide with the stone floor. Do you know now? Bai Qi asked indifferently. Roar! Ming Peak let out a beast-like roar and struggled angrily. He shouted, I said I don't know and I mean I don't know. If you have the guts, kill me today. Otherwise, I will definitely take revenge. Big brother, it seems that he is not lying. I have seen the secret rooms here before, and there are no more than one. I guess that kid went down. Bai Long said. Went down? Bai Qi furrowed his brows. If it went down, it would be troublesome because they did not know which secret room Lu Ming went into. Without knowing which secret room it was, he did not dare to attack recklessly. Especially from the 4th floor onwards, everyone was an expert. If he attacked the wrong room and provoked other experts, things would be troublesome. Bang! Bai Qi kicked Ming Peak away and said disdainfully, a martial master like an ant wants to take revenge on me? Fine, I will wait for you. After saying that, Bai Qi looked at Lu Matzi and the others and said, you guys guard here. When you see that kid come out, immediately report to me. This? Lu Matzi and the others hesitated. What? Do you want to refuse? Bai Qi stared at Lu Matzi and the others with an unfriendly expression and said coldly, No, we will definitely guard here. When that kid comes out, we will report to you immediately. Lu Matzi hurriedly nodded in agreement. Okay. Chapter 209. Puff. After Bai Qi left, Ming Peak spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. Ming Peak clenched his fists tightly. Because he used too much force, his nails pierced into his flesh, causing blood to seep out. Bai Qi, I swear I'm not human if I don't take revenge for this. Ming Peak's eyes were red. With a roar he staggered upwards and left the Earth Yuan cave. Lu Matzi and the rest waited there. 3 days later in Ming Peak's dormitory, Pearl and Ming Peak sat opposite each other. Bang! Pearl slammed the table heavily and said with a gloomy face, Bai Qi, you've gone too far. Sister, I'll definitely take revenge for this. Ming Peak gritted his teeth and said. After 3 days his injuries were much better, but there were a few broken bones in his body. It was not something that could be healed in a few days. Little brother, do you really want Big Brother to take action? Pearl asked. That's right. Only Big Brother can take revenge for me. Ming Peak said. Big Brother is focused on cultivation and keeps a low profile, so he's not listed in the top 10 experts of the Outer Palace. However, you and I both know his combat strength. It should be enough to deal with Bai Qi, but Big Brother is in seclusion now. I'm afraid you'll have to wait. Pearl pondered for a while and said, It's okay, I'll wait. When Big Brother comes out of seclusion, he'll definitely take revenge for me. Ming Peak said. That's good. Pearl nodded. Lu Ming knew nothing about what happened in the outside world. He was focused on cultivation. Every day, apart from cultivating the true dragon fighting art, he comprehended the power of fire. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Lu Ming had gained a lot in this 1 month. Cultivating here for a month was equivalent to cultivating outside for more than a year. In close to 2 years, Lu Ming had properly condensed his true qi. Not only had he eliminated all the hidden dangers left behind by his rapid advancement, his cultivation had also steadily advanced, step by step reaching the peak of the 4th layer of the martial master realm. There was no other way. Lu Ming needed too much energy to increase his cultivation, and Lu Ming's main goal was to lay down his foundation. Therefore his progress was very slow. However, Xiao Qin's true qi was full and smooth. He had already reached the limits of the 4th grade martial grandmaster. He was only a step away from the 5th grade martial grandmaster. Lu Ming was still very satisfied. His power of fire had also made great progress. Although it was still far from reaching great accomplishment, it had been steadily advancing. He had taken a large step forward from the foundation of small accomplishment. If I have time in the future, I should come here more often to cultivate. This is only the 5th level. I'm sure that the levels below will be even more effective. Lu Ming pondered. Then the stone door opened. It was time. Lu Ming walked out. Then he went up. When he reached the 3rd level, Lu Ming was slightly stunned because Lu Matzi and the others were still there. It's that kid. He came out. When Lu Matzi and the others saw Lu Ming, their eyes lit up. He really doesn't change. Lu Ming muttered. Then he looked at Ming Peak's secret room. The stone door was dim. Obviously no one was cultivating inside. Ming Peak should have arrived at the secret room a few minutes earlier than me. Logically speaking, if he came out, he should have waited for me. Why don't I see him now? Could it be that he came out early? Lu Ming thought in his heart. That's not right. Lu Ming's eyes suddenly flashed because he saw some faint palm prints on the secret room's stone door. Although the palm prints were very dim, how could they escape Lu Ming's eyes? Lu Ming remembered that there was definitely no such thing before. Could it be that something happened to Ming Peak? Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He suddenly turned around and looked at Lu Matzi and the others. Stop right there. At this time, Lu Matzi and the others were trying to escape. Lu Ming roared. They were so scared that their faces turned pale and they had to stop. Let me ask you, where is the person in this secret room? Is it the young man who came with me? Lu Ming asked coldly. This we don't know. Lu Mozi's eyes flickered and he stammered. There must be something wrong. The expressions of Lu Mozi and the others made Lu Ming even more certain. Tell me what happened. If you don't tell me, you can't leave. Lu Ming's eyes flashed coldly and his killing intent burst out. Lu Mozi and the others felt cold all over and were scared to death. Finally, they told him everything. Boom! An extremely powerful aura burst out from Lu Ming's body. The violent genuine qi was raging in the cave. Bai Long Bai Qi, damn you! Lu Ming whispered in an extremely cold voice. Speaking of which, Ming Peak was still implicated by him. He must get revenge for Ming Peak. Big brother, this has nothing to do with us. We are here because Bai Qi forced us. Lu Mozi said in a trembling voice. Cut the crap. Lead the way to Bai Qi's residence. Lu Ming said coldly. Ah. Lu Mozi and the others were stunned and then they were shocked. It turned out that Lu Ming was going to find trouble with Bai Qi directly. Well, this guy is really arrogant. Take him to Bai Qi and let Bai Qi teach him a lesson. Let me vent my anger. Lu Mozi thought in his heart and then quickly nodded in agreement. Immediately, Lu Mozi and the others led Lu Ming to Bai Qi's residence. Just 10 minutes before Lu Ming ended his cultivation, a tall young man carrying a saber on his back walked into Ming Peak's residence. Ha ha ha, little brother. You finally joined the Star General Hall. I have been busy with my cultivation and didn't come to see you. Don't blame me. The moment the young man walked into Ming Peak's room, he laughed loudly. Beside the young man was Pearl. Big brother, you are out? When Ming Peak saw the young man, he exclaimed in joy. Yes, I'm out. It's been a long time. Let me see if your cultivation has improved. The young man had a smile on his face as he sized up Ming Peak. After taking a look, his face changed slightly and he said, Little brother, you were injured some time ago? As the saying goes, it takes 100 days to recover from a serious injury. Ming Peak had many of his bones broken a month ago. Even if his cultivation wasn't weak, he still couldn't recover to his peak in a month. Naturally, the young man saw through it at a glance. Big brother, you have to help me. At that moment, Ming Peak cried out. What happened? The young man frowned. It's like this. At that moment, Ming Peak told him what happened. Bai Qi, what a Bai Qi, you are merely ranked 10th in the Outer Hall's top 10 experts. How dare you be so arrogant? It seems that I, Myeongcheng, have been cultivating hard all this time. It's time for me to move my muscles and bones and let others know how powerful I am. Myeongcheng's face darkened as he said coldly. Let's go. Take me to Bai Qi's residence. I will get back at you. Myeongcheng waved his hand. Big brother, I know where Bai Qi lives. Pearl said. Then, the three Ming siblings went to Bai Qi's residence together. As one of the Outer Hall's top 10 experts, Bai Qi lived in a completely different place from the other students. He had his own courtyard, which was right behind the other students' pavilions. Soon Myeongcheng, Ming Peak, and Pearl arrived at Bai Qi's courtyard. Bai Qi, get out here. Chapter 210. His voice rumbled and spread throughout the entire dormitory area. The entire dormitory area was shaken all of a sudden. What? Someone asked Bai Qi to come out. Who is this person? Why is he so arrogant? Could he be one of the top 10 Outer Hall experts? Bai Qi ranks 10th among the top 10 Outer Hall experts. Only the other top 10 experts dare to call him that. There's a show to watch. Let's go and have a look. Suddenly, figures flashed out from the pavilion of the dormitory and headed towards Bai Qi's courtyard. Soon, there was a circle of figures outside Bai Qi's courtyard, and the number of people was still increasing. Where did this blind dog come from? Do you want to die? A loud roar came from Bai Qi's courtyard. Then, the gate of the courtyard opened and 4 or 5 figures walked out. The one in the lead was Bai Qi, and Bai Long was also by his side. It had been a month, but Bai Long's arm had not recovered and was still wrapped in a thick bandage. At this time, Bai Long glanced around. It was obvious that he was the one who roared just now. Then, his eyes fell on Ming Peak. Little bastard, it's you. What's wrong? Didn't I teach you a lesson last time? You want to die now? In that case, I'll fulfill your wish. Bai Long grinned hideously. Whoosh! Slap him. Suddenly, Myeongcheng moved. In a flash, He appeared in front of Bai Long and slapped him. He was so fast that even Bai Qi could not save him in time. Slap. Bai Long was sent flying by the slap. The scene suddenly fell silent. Isn't that Miangcheng the martial arts maniac? How dare he slap Bai Long in front of Bai Qi? Yes, Miangcheng the martial arts maniac, used to cultivate into a demon. I didn't expect him to be so bold. Bai Qi is going crazy. I wonder if Miangcheng can handle him? Sounds of discussion could be heard all around. Miangcheng, right? Do you know the consequences of doing this? Bai Qi's face was extremely gloomy as he looked coldly at Miangcheng. You hurt my brother, why didn't you think of the consequences? Now I gave him a slap, which is considered light. Now it's your turn. Let me see what means you, one of the top 10 masters, have. Miangcheng stared at Bai Qi, his eyes flashing with a crazy desire to fight. At the same time, a powerful aura burst out from his body. The aura of a peak 6th layer martial master. Bai Qi's pupils slightly shrunk. Soon after, he coldly smiled and said, So you have the cultivation of the peak of the 6th level of the martial master realm. No wonder you dared to cause trouble in front of my door. However, today I will tell you that although we are both at the peak of the 6th level of the martial master realm, the difference in battle strength is like heaven and earth. You will regret your actions today. Boom! A powerful aura also erupted from Bai Qi's body. It was also the aura of a peak 6th layer martial master. The two auras collided, stirring up a gale. Haha, then let's fight. Miangcheng laughed wildly. His battle saber was unsheathed, carrying a terrifying saber light. The saber light turned black and soared into the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. 8 desolate battle saber. Miangcheng roared and slashed out. The terrifying saber light violently slashed towards Bai Qi as soon as the saber was slashed out. A terrifying saber intent filled the entire place. Everyone felt a terrifying pressure. So strong, too strong. Someone roared. Bai Qi's pupils suddenly shrunk and he shouted, White snake dragon palm. As the palm blasted out, the space shook. A huge white snake condensed, hissing towards the sky and rushing towards Miangcheng's saber light. An earth-shattering vibration sounded. Bai Qi's body shook and he was shaken back. As for Miangcheng, he did not move at all. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Miangcheng, this martial madman, is actually so strong. Bai Qi was beaten back in one move. It seems that we have underestimated Miangcheng before. Some people just don't like fame, they are not necessarily weak. Now it seems that the top 10 experts of the Outer Palace are not necessarily the strongest. That's right. Of course, there were also people who disagreed. Bai Qi was just careless just now. He may not lose. It's too early to say this. Someone retorted. Everyone was discussing, but Bai Qi's face was extremely gloomy. Bai Qi, it turns out that your strength is only like this. It's really disappointing. From now on, your title of top 10 experts of the Outer Palace will be mine. Miangcheng laughed. The battle has just begun. It's too early for you to be happy. You are not qualified to defeat me. White snake dragon palm. Dragon transformation. Bai Qi roared. His genuine qi surged and his hands were filled with dense white light. He blasted out a palm and a huge white snake appeared. As soon as it appeared, it changed rapidly and finally turned into a huge white dragon, pouncing towards Miangcheng. Dragon, it really turned into a dragon. Everyone's heart trembled when they saw this scene. Bai Qi's combat strength was really amazing. With such combat strength, not to mention a martial artist at the peak of LV6 martial master, even a LV7 martial master would not be able to withstand it. Insignificant skill. I will defeat you in 30 moves. Miangcheng sneered and slowly raised his saber with both hands. At this moment a huge saber was formed. The huge saber was dark like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It slowly slashed towards Bai Qi. The huge saber and the white dragon collided. The white dragon roared and opened its mouth to bite the huge saber. However, the huge saber shook violently and the terrifying saber light was shocking. Boom! In the end, the huge white dragon was defeated and turned into energy and dissipated. However, the huge saber did not stop. White snake dragon palm. 10 dragons in one palm. Bai Qi roared and clapped with both hands. Roar! Roar! At this moment, 10 gigantic white dragons appeared and roared as they charged towards Ming City. 8 Wasteland Saber fight! 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 Miangcheng's battle intent was shocking. He slashed his saber wildly, displaying the domineering and powerful strength of a swordsman. At this moment Lu Ming, Lu Matzi and the others just arrived. Someone is fighting Bai Qi. Who is it? How can he be so powerful? Pockmark Lu sucked in a cold breath. That's Miangcheng, the martial madman Miangcheng. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. It's amazing. Fortunately, I didn't offend him before. Another young man said. Miangcheng? His surname is Ming? Lu Ming's expression changed. He glanced around and saw Pearl and Ming peek. I wonder what's the relationship between Miangcheng and Pearl and Ming peek? Lu Ming thought. At the same time he walked forward and the true qi in his body surged out. The people in front of him unconsciously moved aside. Lu Ming walked forward and stood in the crowd to watch. Boom! 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 The rumbling continued. Miangcheng and Bai Qi fought for more than 10 moves in the blink of an eye. However, Miangcheng became more and more powerful and Bai Qi gradually lost. Ah! Bai Qi roared, but it was useless. He was completely suppressed by Miangcheng. 8 Wasteland Saber break heaven and earth. Miangcheng made the last slash. This slash condensed all of Miangcheng's battle intent. This slash seemed to be able to destroy everything. As the saber slashed down, Bai Qi roared furiously and retreated at top speed. Everyone could see that a wound had appeared on Bai Qi's body, and it was dripping with blood. Bai Qi's face was pale. Chapter 211. Miangcheng, a martial arts madman who usually kept a low profile and only knew how to cultivate, actually had such a strong strength. He said that he would defeat Bai Qi within 30 moves, and then he defeated Bai Qi within 30 moves. It was beyond everyone's expectations. Bai Qi, is this all you've got? It's really disappointing. From now on, you are out of the top 10 experts, and your ranking will be inherited by me. Miangcheng said loudly. Bai Qi clenched his teeth and his face was livid, but he couldn't refute. He was originally ranked 10th among the top 10 experts. Now that he was defeated, he should naturally withdraw from the top 10 experts and be replaced by Miangcheng. Also, you are not qualified to live in this courtyard. You have 3 days to move out. Miangcheng laughed. What? Don't go too far. Bai Qi roared. Go too far? Why didn't you think so when you beat my brother? It's nothing more than thinking that you can bully others at will because you are strong. Now my strength is stronger than yours. So what if I bully you? Miangcheng was very strong and sneered. You? Bai Qi was furious, but he had nothing to say. Haha, second sister, little brother, let's go. Miangcheng laughed and turned to walk out. Humph, why aren't you arrogant now? Trash. Ming Peak curled his lips and looked at Bai Qi and Bai Long contemptuously. Bai Qi and Bai Long were so angry that their mouths were crooked and their eyes almost popped out. Miangcheng and his siblings passed through the crowd. The people around saw that Bai Qi was so embarrassed and gloated. Bai Qi and his brother usually offended a lot of people. What are you looking at? If you look again, be careful that your eyes will be gouged out. Bai Long roared and swept his gaze across the crowd. The surrounding crowd couldn't help but lower their heads, but their hearts were filled with disdain. Just now, in front of Miangcheng, why wasn't he arrogant? Now that Miangcheng was gone, he started to be arrogant. Bai Long's gaze swept over the crowd. Suddenly, his eyes widened and revealed a ferocious expression. He pointed in Lu Ming's direction and shouted, It's you, you little bastard, it's all your fault. Big brother, it's this bastard who injured me that day. Bai Long pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. The people around Lu Ming were horrified. They hurriedly took a few steps back, distancing themselves from Lu Ming. In this way, Lu Ming was exposed. This is the kid. Bai Qi looked at Lu Ming, his eyes full of cold, murderous intent. Yes, at this moment, his murderous intent towards Lu Ming was incomparably strong. He believed that the reason he ended up like this, being defeated and humiliated by Miangcheng in public, was all thanks to Lu Ming. If Lu Ming hadn't injured Bai Long, he wouldn't have gone to the Earth Element Cave to find trouble with Lu Ming, injured Ming Peak, and attracted Miangcheng here. At this moment he blamed everything on Lu Ming. His murderous intent towards Lu Ming was even stronger than towards Myeongchang. Damn it, this kid deserves to die. Bai Qi roared. Senior Bai, we've brought the kid you wanted. At this moment, Lu Matzi squeezed out of the crowd and said to Bai Qi, little bastard. Come here, kneel down and kowtow to me 100 times in public to apologize to me. Hurry up. Bai Qi pointed at Lu Ming and shouted. He wanted to get back at Lu Ming for the humiliation he suffered today. He also wanted to let others know that he, Bai Qi, was still a powerhouse that everyone respected. Lu Ming's lips suddenly curled into a sneer. How could he not see through Bai Qi's intentions? He was treating him as a pushover. However, was Lu Ming a pushover? Lu Ming casually took a step forward, looked at Bai Long and said, what's wrong? Didn't you get taught a lesson back then? Now you want to be taught a lesson again? Bai Long's face showed a hint of malevolence, and he said, kid, today I'm going to take back 10 times what you did to me. Take back 10 times? Just by you, or just by your big brother who was easily defeated just now? Lu Ming smiled faintly, and glanced at Bai Qi in an instant. Bai Qi's face changed and became extremely ugly. The muscles on his face trembled violently, and his eyes revealed an extremely cold, murderous intent. He regarded the incident just now as a great humiliation, but Lu Ming still brought it up now? This was a scar that was reopened in public. Faint gasps could be heard from the audience. Lu Ming was too bold. He actually dared to say that about Bai Qi in public. It's over. Everyone thought that Lu Ming was finished. Bai Qi would never let him go. Sure enough, Bai Qi's face was ferocious. He looked at Lu Ming and said in a cold voice, little bastard, if I don't break all the bones in your body today, I'm not Bai Qi, change it to idiot. It's very smooth, isn't it? It's also very compatible with you. Lu Ming said with a smile. Ah, you're courting death. Bai Qi couldn't bear it anymore. He roared and pounced on Lu Ming. White Snake Dragon Palm. As soon as he made his move, Bai Qi used his ultimate move. A giant white dragon roared and pounced on Lu Ming. A fierce aura surged out and filled the audience. Many people felt the terrifying pressure and retreated with a change in expression. Although Bai Qi was defeated by Myeongchang, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. His strength didn't weaken and was still terrifying. Everyone was shocked. They knew that the reason why Bai Qi was easily defeated by Myeongchang wasn't that Bai Qi was weak, but that Myeongchang was too strong. That kid won't be smashed into a meat patty, right? Many people had such a thought in their minds. Insignificant skill. A faint voice came from Lu Ming's mouth. Then Lu Ming's hand glowed and condensed a long spear. He swept it out. Bang! The long spear swept across the giant white dragon and smashed it into pieces. Bai Qi groaned and his expression changed. He retreated rapidly and took more than 10 steps back before he could stabilize himself. The crowd was stunned and their eyes widened as they watched this scene. Bai Qi retreated. He was actually pushed back by Lu Ming. How was this possible? Some people even rubbed their eyes hard, thinking that they had seen wrongly. What dragon palm? I think it's more like insect palm. Lu Ming said lightly. Ew. Take this. Bai Qi was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He roared and continued to pounce on Lu Ming. White Snake Dragon Palm. 10 dragons in one palm. Bai Qi struck out with both palms and used his strongest move in the fierce battle with Myeongchang. I'll defeat you in 3 moves. Lu Ming roared and moved his hand. The demon-suppressing spear appeared in his hand. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming thrust his spear and the demon-suppressing spear turned into 10 spear shadows. They were so fast that it was as if 10 bolts of lightning had appeared in the sky. Then 10 roars sounded in the sky. The 10 giant white dragons that Bai Qi blasted out were all defeated by Lu Ming. This is the first move. Next, the second move. Before the crowd could be shocked, Lu Ming used the second move. Whoosh! The black demon-suppressing spear pierced through the air and stabbed towards Bai Qi so fast, too fast. Chapter 212. Butt Puff. Lu Ming's long spear pierced through, and the palm power completely collapsed. Bai Qi's expression changed drastically, and he frantically retreated. Shua! Shua! Outside the crowd, Myeongchang, Pearl, and Ming Peak had returned, and were rapidly rushing over. Evidently, they had heard the commotion and returned. That's Big Brother Tianyun. Big Brother Tianyun is too strong. He actually forced Bai Qi to retreat. Ming Peek cried out in surprise. Pearl also looked on in surprise. And Myongcheng's eyes were filled with shock. The third move. Lu Ming's faint voice came from his mouth again. Xiao. The third spear pierced out. On the tip of this spear, there was a faint azure light, and a nimble, elegant, and extremely sharp aura spread out. The space seemed to have been pierced, and an azure mark appeared. There was only a mark but no spear. It was too fast. Poochie. Bai Qi did not even have time to react before Lu Ming's spear pierced through his shoulder, and directly pinned Bai Qi to the ground. Everyone present was stunned. They were completely unable to react. Ah! Ah! Only when Bai Qi let out a shrill scream did everyone come to their senses. Zizai. Immediately there was the sound of people sucking in cold air. 3 moves, it really was 3 moves. Lu Ming had pinned Bai Qi to the ground. Too strong, he was really too strong. Everyone roared in their hearts. Even an idiot could see that Bai Qi did not have the power to fight back in the hands of Lu Ming. Where did this young man come from? His strength was too terrifying. Today there was a Myongcheng who defeated Bai Qi within 30 moves. This made everyone realize that the so-called top 10 experts of the Outer Palace were not invincible. There were many hidden experts in the Outer Palace. Then Lu Ming made his move, which was even more exaggerated. He nailed Bai Qi to the ground in 3 moves. This made everyone even more certain that there were many experts hidden in the Outer Palace. Force, that's force. What he used just now was the force of wind. Suddenly someone shouted. In the outer hall there was no lack of experts. Naturally, there were people who recognized the power of wind that Lu Ming displayed. Lu Ming had indeed used the power of wind just now. Using the power of the wind, Lu Ming's spear speed was extremely fast. What? It was actually the power of the wind? How old is he? Furthermore, he is only a martial grand master, yet he has already comprehended force. How terrifying! Genius, a peerless genius. Even in the 5 great sects, he is a rare peerless genius. There was an intense discussion in the surroundings. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He had only comprehended the power of wind recently. If everyone knew that he had also comprehended the power of fire, and that he had already reached the small success stage, how shocked would they be? Force. Big Brother Tianyun has already comprehended force? In the crowd, Ming Peek's mouth was wide open in shock. Second sister, little brother, he is the Tianyun that you were talking about? He is indeed a peerless genius. Haha, I must spar with him in the future. Myongcheng grinned and said, his eyes flickering with excitement. How could this be? How could this be? Impossible, impossible. Bai Long looked at this scene in a daze. His eyes were filled with disbelief. He kept muttering as if he could not accept this. Nothing is impossible. There are so many genius experts. What can trash like you brothers count for? Lu Ming said indifferently. He really did not put a genius like Bai Qi in his eyes. He estimated that Bai Qi's level of genius, if placed in the Mystic Essence Sword sect, would be similar to the top 10 on the bronze list. With his current combat strength facing a genius of this level, there was no difficulty in fighting across a few levels. Ah! Bai Qi roared and struggled with all his might. His eyes were filled with humiliation. What are you shouting for? I forgot to tell you that I have a strong point, and that is, I like to return what others want to do to me. Just now you seem to have threatened to break all the bones in my body. Lu Ming laughed. His voice was not loud, but it made people feel a chill. They could not help but tremble all over. Bai Qi's eyes were filled with horror. He shouted, no, don't. Buzz. Lu Ming's palm shook and the long spear suddenly trembled. A powerful force gushed out of the long spear and rushed into Bai Qi's body. Crack, crack. Bai Qi's body made a sound like beans being fried. Bai Qi let out a shrill scream. All the bones in his body were instantly shattered by Lu Ming. Everyone was shocked. Then a bone-piercing chill spread out from their backs. Ruthless, too ruthless. Lu Ming actually broke Bai Qi's bones. But there were also a large number of people who were extremely happy. They completely agreed with Lu Ming. This was how a martial artist should be. Lu Ming's eyes were calm, without the slightest trace of pity. If he was defeated today and fell into Bai Qi's hands, Bai Qi would definitely break his bones. If he was not ruthless, others would be ruthless to him. In this world, the strong preyed on the weak. Big brother. On the side, Bai Long's body was trembling non-stop. His face was pale without a trace of blood. Even his voice was trembling. Lu Ming's eyes swept over him. Bai Long shouted, "No!" and directly collapsed on the ground. "Get lost!" Lu Ming shouted coldly. Bai Long's body trembled. He suddenly struggled to get up and was about to run out. "Get back here and take your big brother away," Lu Ming shouted. Bai Long hurried back, supported by Qi, and staggered away. Big brother Tianyun, you are really amazing. I admire you so much." At this time, Ming Peak squeezed into the crowd and ran toward Lu Ming. Behind him, Pearl and Myeongcheng followed. "Ming Peak, I implicated you before. You were injured by Qi," Lu Ming said. "How can you blame big brother Tianyun for this? It's just that my cultivation state is too weak. Moreover, didn't big brother Tianyun teach Bai Qi a lesson today to avenge me?" Ming Peak said. Cough cough. Behind Ming Peak, Myeongcheng coughed a few times. "Ah, of course my beloved big brother also taught Bai Qi a lesson and helped me vent my anger. Thank you, big brother." Ming Feng rolled his eyes and quickly said with a smile, "You." Myeongcheng scolded jokingly. Then he looked at Lu Ming, cupped his fists and said, "I'm Myeongcheng, the big brother of Pearl and Ming Peak. I just heard them talking about you. I didn't expect that brother Tianyun is really a peerless genius. I admire you." "Brother Ming, you flatter me. I was just lucky," Lu Ming said with a smile. "Brother Tianyun, you don't have to be so modest. How about this, let's exchange pointers some other day, how about it?" Myeongcheng looked at Lu Ming expectantly. Ming Zhu and Ming Feng, on the other hand, revealed an expression of as expected. "Sure." Lu Ming didn't refuse. Good, haha. Myeongcheng laughed. "Let's go, I feel that we are fated to meet brother Tianyun today. Let's drink my treat." Myeongcheng laughed. Lu Ming didn't refuse. In the imperial city it was always good to make more friends. They found a restaurant and drank. When they returned it was already late at night. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning, an old man came to Lu Ming's dormitory. "Tianyun, my young master wants to see you." Chapter 213. Your young master? Lu Ming was stunned. Who would invite him? Could it be another student of the general hall? Lu Ming frowned, wanting to reject. The old man smiled. "Young master Tianyun, you don't have to be in a hurry to reject. My young master said that he is an old friend of yours." Old friend? Lu Ming was even more puzzled. How could he have any old friends in the imperial capital? Suddenly Lu Ming thought of a person, Hua Qi, but he was in disguise now, changing his name to Tianyun. How could he be Hua Qi? Lu Ming was very curious. "All right, I'll go with you." Lu Ming thought for a moment and nodded. "Please." The old man smiled. Lu Ming and the old man left the general hall. There was already a luxurious carriage waiting at the entrance of the general hall. The horse in the carriage was not an ordinary horse, but a flood dragon horse. It had a strong physique, a horn on its head, and was covered in scales. It was said that the flood dragon horse had the bloodline of a flood dragon, and could travel 10,000 miles in a day. It was an extremely precious mount. And this carriage was pulled by 3 flood dragon horses. The owner of the carriage was definitely not ordinary. After boarding the carriage, the coachman shouted and the carriage rushed out like a whirlwind. Lu Ming sat in the carriage. It was very stable and did not feel the slightest bit bumpy. The old man sat opposite Lu Ming, not saying a word, and closed his eyes to rest. Soon the carriage stopped. "We're here, young master Tianyun, please." The old man opened his eyes and smiled. Lu Ming nodded and walked down the carriage, but he was shocked by the scene in front of him. They stopped at a wide square, and there were many carriages parked in the square. Each carriage was very luxurious, and the ones pulling the carriages were mostly strange beasts. In front of the square, there was a very majestic building, with high walls and dazzling gold and jade. On the high walls at the entrance, there were rows of armored soldiers patrolling, each of them emitting a strong aura. "This is the Imperial Palace." Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he was slightly taken aback. Young Master Tianyun, please. The old man raised his hand and said, Who is your young master? Lu Ming frowned and asked again. The old man smiled gently and said, To be honest with you, young Master Tianyun, my young master is the current 8th prince. 8th prince? Lu Ming was surprised. He had never heard of the 8th prince. Young Master Tianyun, please. The old man said again. All right. Lu Ming's heart stirred as he spoke. Regardless of whether he was the 8th prince or not, he would meet him. Lu Ming was not a timid person. Following the old man, he easily walked through the palace gates and headed inside. The imperial palace was simply too big. There were countless pavilions, terraces, and pavilions. Armored guards patrolled back and forth, and the place was heavily guarded. Lu Ming could faintly feel that there were many powerful auras hidden within, like sleeping dragons. Once they erupted, it would be extremely terrifying. Lu Ming's heart trembled. It seemed that the imperial palace was not as weak as the rumors said. They were still powerful and should not be underestimated. Following the old man, Zhang Xian wandered around for some time before finally arriving at a residence. The courtyard was very big, and hundreds of flowers bloomed, their fragrance filling the air. In the middle of the courtyard there was a small lake. The lake water was clear like a mirror. There was a pavilion beside the small lake. At this time, there were a few exquisite dishes and wine on the jade table in the pavilion. In the pavilion, a slender figure wearing a purple dragon robe with a jade belt around his waist stood there. He had his hands behind his back facing Lu Ming and the others. He looked at the small lake as if he was thinking about something. The old man came to the back of the figure, bowed and said, Your Highness, young Master Tianyun has arrived. The figure moved slightly as if he had reacted, and then slowly turned around. When he saw the person's appearance, Lu Ming's pupils shrank. Hua Qi, this person was Hua Qi. Hua Qi was the 8th prince? Wasn't the imperial palace surnamed Hua? However, there were so many people with the surname Hua in the world. He had never thought that Hua Qi would be a member of the imperial palace, let alone the 8th prince. Lu Ming, long time no see. The 8th prince said with a smile on his face. Lu Ming was startled. Then he cupped his fists and said, 8th prince, I'm afraid you've got the wrong person. My name is Tianyun, not Lu Ming. Hua Qi smiled and said, I was there when you fought with Bai Qi yesterday. Lu Ming, you can hide it from others, but how can you hide it from me? Especially your temperament during the battle, how can others imitate it? Lu Ming smiled bitterly. Although he had disguised himself, Hua Qi was too familiar with his expression and voice, so it was difficult to hide it. Crack crack, Lu Ming's body wriggled, his bones moved, and his body returned to normal. He then wiped his face, revealing his handsome face. Hua Qi, I didn't expect you to be the 8th prince of the Blazing Sun Empire. Lu Ming said with a smile. So what if I'm the 8th prince? Hua Qi sighed, then waved his hand and said, Lu Ming, come have a seat, let's have a drink. The two sat opposite each other, and Hua Qi poured Lu Ming a cup of wine. Lu Ming did not hold back and drank it in one gulp. Lu Ming, I've heard about you. The Mystic Essence Sword sect is really disappointing. Hua Qi drank a cup and sighed. Aha, what's there to be disappointed about? I'll destroy the Duanmu family sooner or later. As for you as the 8th prince, I really don't understand why you're in the Mystic Essence Sword sect. Lu Ming laughed and asked. Hua Qi was silent for a long time before he sighed. Lu Ming, I'm sure you know about the history of the imperial family and our current situation? Hua Qi said. Lu Ming nodded. The imperial family of the Blazing Sun Empire used to be so powerful that even the 5 major sects had to tremble in front of them. Unfortunately, the royal family suffered a great loss due to the internal strife. The sects rose to prominence, especially the Shifang sword sect. They were so ambitious that they took control of the former emperor. They used the name of the rightful ruler to rule the world. That was how they rose to prominence so quickly. In the past 800 years, they dominated the Burning Sun Empire and became the most powerful sect. However, the imperial family is the true imperial family, and we can't be controlled by a lowly sect like the Shifang sword sect. At this point, Hua Qi's eyes flickered with a shocking light. It was a kind of persistence and conviction. But then he sighed and said, unfortunately, the people of the Blazing Sun Empire only know about the 5 major sections. Almost all the geniuses have been recruited by the 5 major sections. So the imperial family established the Star General Hall to cultivate their own forces. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he asked. That's right. Hua Qi replied. It's so obvious that the Shifeng sword sect doesn't know about it? Lu Ming asked. Of course the Shifeng sword sect knows about it, but maybe they don't care and think it's useless. There's another reason. The imperial family isn't weak and the Shifeng sword sect doesn't dare to go too far. Hua Qi said. They don't dare to go too far? With the Shifeng sword sect's current strength, it shouldn't be difficult to destroy the imperial family, right? Chapter 214. Ever since he came to the imperial capital, he felt that the relationship between the imperial capital and the Decimo sword sect was very subtle. It wasn't like the legends where the Decimo sword sect controlled the imperial capital. The Decimo sword sect has the strength, but they don't dare to. Although the imperial capital has declined, we are still the orthodox. If the Decimo sword sect destroys the imperial capital, the other 4 sects will join forces and attack us. It's sad to say that the Decimo sword sect isn't afraid of the imperial capital, but the other 4 sections. Hua Qi sighed. Lu Ming's heart moved. So that's why. However, the Decimo sword sect is ambitious. They have been supporting their own people in the royal family. They want to slowly erode the resistance of the royal family. In the end, they will achieve their goal of complete control. At that time, everything in the royal family will really belong to the Decimo sword sect. Now the imperial capital is divided into 2 factions. One faction is determined to resist, but the other faction wants to join the Decimo sword sect. They are a disgrace to the imperial capital's scum, especially that sky-suppressing king. Hua Qi gritted his teeth. Lu Ming listened quietly. He didn't expect there to be so many secrets. Hua Qi clearly trusted him, which was why he told him so many secrets. I originally wanted to join the Mystic Essence Sword sect, and see if I can borrow the power of the Mystic Essence Sword sect to fight against the Decimo sword sect in the future. Now, it seems that this method won't work at all. It's better to stay in the imperial capital and accumulate my strength. Lu Ming, I have a request and I hope you can agree to it. Speaking until here, Hua Qi suddenly bowed to Lu Ming. What are you doing? Lu Ming waved his hand and a force surged out, lifting Hua Qi up. You're my friend. If you have something to say it. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, I hope you can help me. Help me destroy the Decimo sword sect. Hua Qi's eyes flashed with shocking killing intent. Help you destroy the Decimo sword sect? Lu Ming frowned slightly. Lu Ming, I know that you are exceptionally talented and a dragon among men. In the future, you will definitely not be trapped in a small place like the Burning Sun Empire. You will have a broader stage. I will not ask you to join the royal family. I only hope that when you become powerful in the future, you can lend me a hand. Hua Qi said. All right, I promise you. Lu Ming pondered for a moment and said. Firstly, Hua Qi was his friend. Also, his father, Lu Yuntian, might very well have fallen into the hands of the 10 Direction Sword sect. If that was true, then he and the 10 Direction Sword sect were mortal enemies. Sooner or later, they would have to fight. So there was no harm in agreeing to Hua Qi's request. Good, that's great. Hua Qi was overjoyed. He was well aware of Lu Ming's talent. As long as Lu Ming continued to grow, it was possible for him to become a martial king in the future. With Lu Ming's help, great things could be expected. Naturally, he was excited. Hua Qi's hand moved, and a gold token appeared in his hand. He passed it to Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, you're now a member of the Stellar Cluster Hall. With this command token, you can enter and exit the Stellar Cluster Hall as you wish from now on, and you don't have to pay any fees. I can enter and leave the 7 Great Cultivation Holy Lands as I please? Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and he received the golden token without any hesitation. Also, what's the Stellar Cluster Hall? Lu Ming asked. Hua Qi wore a smile on his face, obviously much happier than before, as he said, Lu Ming, the Stellar Cluster Hall is open to all kinds of people. With such low requirements, of course, it wouldn't be for no reason. Once a person enters the stellar cluster hall, the imperial family will send people to observe them, to determine if they are from the 5 top sects, and if they can be used by the imperial family. After a series of observations, it's confirmed that they can be used by the imperial family, and that they have great talent, they will be recruited into the stellar cluster hall. The stellar cluster hall is the core of the stellar cluster hall, and it will receive the full support of the imperial family. Currently, many of the generals guarding the border are from the stellar cluster hall, and it's also the trump card of the imperial family against the 10-direction sword sect. At this point, Hua Qi pursed his lips and continued, of course, there is another core of the stellar cluster hall, and that is the Dark Star Hall. What? The Dark Star Hall belongs to the imperial family? Lu Ming was shocked. The Dark Star Hall was as famous as the Shadow Wolf Pavilion, one of the 4 great assassin organizations of the Blazing Sun Empire. Lu Ming didn't expect the Dark Star Hall to belong to the imperial family. Lu Ming, not many people know about this, you must not speak of it, otherwise the 10-direction sword sect might make a big move. Hua Qi said. Of course I won't. Lu Ming said. In fact, among the 4 great assassin organizations of the Blazing Sun Empire, 2 of them are nurtured by the 10-direction sword sect, and they are the Blood Rain Tower and Shadow Wolf Pavilion. The other one is the most mysterious, the King of Hell Manor. I don't even know who is behind it. Hua Qi said. What? The Shadow Wolf Pavilion belongs to the 10-direction sword sect? Lu Ming was shocked. The Duanmu family sent assassins from the Shadow Wolf Pavilion to kill him, and he thought that the Shadow Wolf Pavilion was supported by the Mystic Essence Sword sect. He didn't expect them to be supported by the 10-direction sword sect. If they belonged to the 10-direction sword sect, how could the Duanmu family order them around? Maybe the Shadow Wolf Pavilion would do anything for money, or maybe the Duanmu family and the Shadow Wolf Pavilion, or rather the 10-direction sword sect had some kind of relationship. Lu Ming, what did you discover? Hua Qi asked. Nothing. Lu Ming shook his head and didn't tell Hua Qi his guess. Hua Qi, I also have something that I need your help with. Lu Ming's expression changed and he suddenly said, What is it? As long as I can help, I will do my best to help, Hua Qi said. I need you to help me investigate a person, and that person is my father. Lu Ming didn't hide anything and told Hua Qi that Lu Yuntian might be in the imperial capital, and in the hands of the 10-direction sword sect. There's actually such a secret, Lu Ming, don't worry. I will use all my power to help you investigate. As long as Uncle Lu is still in the imperial capital, I will help you find him even if I have to turn the imperial capital upside down. Hua Qi said resolutely. Thank you. With Hua Qi's help, Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. He finally had some confidence in his heart. Hua Qi was the 8th prince of the imperial capital, and he definitely had a lot of power in the imperial capital. With his help, it was 1,000 times better than him investigating alone. Next, the 2 drank and chatted. Soon, after 3 rounds of wine, Lu Ming bid farewell to Hua Qi. Lu Ming, there's something that I almost forgot to tell you. 2 months later, the royal family and the Shifang sword sect will open a plane together to harvest the treasures and resources inside. Do you want to go with us then? There are treasures that can greatly help awaken the second bloodline. Hua Qi suddenly said. Treasures that can greatly help awaken the second bloodline? Of course I'll go. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. The awakening of the second bloodline was of utmost importance, and any treasures that could help awaken the second bloodline couldn't be missed. Good, actually you defeated Bai Qi, so there will definitely be a spot for you, Hua Qi said with a smile. Then Lu Ming took his leave and returned to the Star General Hall in Tianyun's appearance. I hope I can hear news about father as soon as possible. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the bed, thinking. He had a feeling that although the Blazing Sun Empire seemed peaceful now, there were undercurrents surging. Various parties were fighting, and he didn't know when it would erupt. He had to find Lu Yuntian as soon as possible. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.